You don't need another strategy. Here's what you actually need to figure out why you can't implement the things that you already know. I'm Dr. Brooklyn Storme, former psychologist, now business coach, and I help women just like us to build profitable private practices, usually in under 12 months. Being neurodivergent means I see the patterns that other coaches miss, but it also means I'm a truth teller, so I'm not interested in giving you any business advice that sounds good or might be trending, but doesn't actually work for us. Welcome to the Practice Momentum podcast, where we're going to get your private practice sorted out. Thanks so much for being here, and let's get on with the next episode.
Hi, my name is Chloe, and I'm part of the Practice Momentum program. I've been working with Brooklyn for a couple of months now, and I can't believe it took me this long. Before I joined Momentum, I was trying to do everything. I was trying to refine my marketing. I was trying to update my website all the time. I was trying to network. I was trying to build my practice, and I had absolutely no idea what to focus on, what I needed to do first. I couldn't understand why nothing was working. It was so stressful because there was no money coming in at that point, and I had been following Brooklyn for a few years, and I always wanted to do coaching with her, and I always kind of put it off because I didn't feel like I was at that point in time. It was my imposter syndrome pretty badly. Fast forward, the time felt right. Brooklyn was so accommodating and helpful with finding a way for me to do the program, and it's been absolutely life-changing. Brooklyn has helped me to plan and make goals and break down bigger tasks, like don't just do a website, actually break it into parts so you have areas to focus on, which I've never done before. I'm so grateful. I reached all of my goals in the last quarter, and that led to a massive increase in my caseload, in my income, and my website is actually generating referrals now, which is incredible. I didn't think it would ever happen. So I'm so grateful. If you're thinking about it, don't wait as long as I did. Absolutely do it. I couldn't speak highly enough of Brooklyn, her generosity, her care, and compassion.
Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of the podcast. Thank you very much for being here. I am just about to go on holiday. I'm pretty much just packing up right now. I'm off tomorrow. I can't wait. Can't come soon enough. It's been a really big week. Like, I would call it a mega week energetically. And the reason for that is two things, actually. One that's happening in business, and the other one that's happening behind the scenes, my personal life. But over in the business side, this was the week that, I introduced the complete new private practice business coaching framework for counsellors, psychologists, and social workers. And I introduced it to the Women Inside Practice Momentum, and it was kind of a big deal. This is the first business coaching framework of its kind, and I am very proud of it. I cannot wait to start to see the results that begin to come through for the women that choose to work with it. It's not compulsory. It's not, mandatory or anything like that. But I felt it was very important to share it, because what I've done is reflected on my business, and I thought that the way that I was working, I thought that my approach was very personalized to each of my clients, which it absolutely is. And I know how I work. I know that I understand it's about that they've got to really see themselves first as a business owner. They've got to be okay with that first. Otherwise, the other things don't work. So what I did was I created a framework around that to put some structure in place and to really shore it up. And it just feels so much better, I guess, for me as a business coach. It's kind of like I guess if you were doing counseling or psychology, maybe a similar type of experience could be if you were like creating your own approach. That's how it feels for me. And I'm very, very excited to share it because I know how powerful and important it is. And I know too, with the testing that I've done for myself and with some other people now, they tend to get results quite quickly. So, yeah, I mean, it is probably takes, I recommend you set aside a morning or an afternoon to, I rolled out one of my processes yesterday, the first process. Of course, there's actually lots of tools, but I don't want to overwhelm people. So I'm just going to like share one in my community at a time, and they can use them or not when they need them or not. It's totally fine. Everybody's on a different path. Some people don't need this. They're totally fine. They do just need strategy. But that's probably about one person in every 100. Usually, all of us have some kind of issue, conflict, values misalignment, things like that, that gets in the way of us being able to use a proven, robust, evidence-based strategy. So I rolled out, as I said, the first tool yesterday, the first little process yesterday. And yeah, it would take maybe, I'm going to say an hour, 90 minutes to get set up if they haven't done it before. But I would always recommend just block off a morning, block off an afternoon, or do it on a Sunday morning or a Sunday afternoon or something. It's not going to work if you plow through it, and you will get much better results if you actually give yourself the space to do it. So, yeah, basically what happens is it's an assessment, and it's fully self-report. And from that assessment, we develop a practice momentum business profile for you. And then from that profile, we identify key domains for you to start working on. And we build an evidence bank of your progress every single day so that you can teach your brain, your subconscious mind, that yes, you can be working consistently on and in the practice and at the same time making progress. I felt that this was a very important thing to include because it's been my experience doing this for so many years now and helping, honestly, thousands of women in private practice through all of my different communities over the years with their businesses, counselors, psychologists, and social workers. Creating this framework was very, very important to me because I know that, so many of them can often feel like they're working very hard and they're not seeing any results. And that's just not the case. I mean, even in Momentum last year, there was a client and she was definitely working hard. I mean, they all work hard. They do. Like, I can't take that away from any of them. They all work very hard. They're quiet achievers. They're sort of humming away in the background, and they very rarely bang their own drums and things like that. So you don't know, but they're working very quietly behind the scenes, very diligently. They're constantly refining, reviewing. They achieve something or they complete something and they know that there's something waiting for them and they move on to that, right? But they might have 2 or 3 things on the go at once, perfectly okay. But what can happen is their experience can sometimes, a lot of the time, be, I'm in the quicksand. Like, it feels like I'm not moving forward. And that happened last year for one of my clients, and she's a brilliant woman and very gifted with her work, highly intelligent, very motivated, very driven, beautiful heart, all of the things, right? And then she was sharing with me, she was like sad. She was very upset, and she was saying, I don't know how much longer I can keep this up, and not, I really need more clients. And she'd been in the program for about 6 months. And I was confused by where this was coming from. And we got on the phone actually, and it was quite late one night because I didn't want her going to bed on a Friday night and holding this all weekend. So of course I'm going to help her out. So I spoke with her at length on this Friday night, and I remembered sitting in my study and I was looking outside. The moon was really big and bright this night, and it just sticks in my mind because it was lighting up the whole front garden, which was just getting drenched with torrential rain. Where I am, there's great big gum trees and things like that, and they were like swaying, swaying, swaying. It was a wild night, so it really sticks in my mind. So it's wild outside, but it's also kind of wild emotionally and energetically when I'm on the phone with her. So yeah, I'm listening to her talk about how she doesn't have enough clients and she needs more clients, and why isn't it working for her, and da 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 da. And because they track their numbers, I was able to just, go and turn on the computer, pull up her numbers, and then I could see week on week, month on month, she was actually getting more and more and more and more and more. And then I pulled up, things that she'd sent me around, these big increases that she'd had with her income and everything. And then I said to her, I'm just going to send you something. So I just jumped into Canva and I whacked it all together into a document for her, and I sent it to her. And she said, oh my gosh, how come I filtered this out? I said, that's a really good question. And she said, I'm doing really well. And I said, I know. And she really is. But it's not, she's not alone in feeling like you're behind and feeling like you're not winning, like you're not achieving things. So yeah, it's helpful, I think, sometimes to have somebody on the outside just kind of say, well, hang on, let's have a look at your numbers. And we could very clearly see it was increasing income, increase in income being her take home, increase in revenue, increase in profit, because we've been able to reduce a lot of her expenses and things like that as well, introduce new services. And yeah, and it was just, that stuck in my mind. And she's not the only person inside Momentum that has come to me with this, of feeling like they're working really hard and not seeing the results, yet the results are actually embedded in the data. So I felt it was really important to include that as a key element of this business coaching framework. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing how they go with it. So it was a very big week for me emotionally, because it was like I was taking it from testing on myself and testing with a couple of other women that I work with in private practice to actually rolling it out officially. I'm very excited to refine it over time. And yeah, I can't wait. So that was huge. And yeah, you know what it's like. You there's this great big build up, right? And then you do the thing, and then you do the training for the thing, and there's all this energy around it, and then it's just woof, you crash, right? So was that. And then the other thing was just behind the scenes of my personal life at the moment, getting ready to take the next step with buying my next property. And of course, it's a very exciting time, but it's also brought up a lot. There's been a lot of stress, a lot of drama, all those kinds of things. And it's not been about the house or anything like that. It's, I guess, personalities that are involved and stuff like that. So a big week, and I can't wait to go away tomorrow. But anyway, that's what's been happening. So that's why I'm late with this podcast episode. I was in no fit state to do it on Wednesday. Today's Thursday. So yeah, I'm going to do it today. Schedule it for tomorrow. You'll get it tomorrow. And then when I'm away, of course, I always do them in the car when I'm feeling inspired. And I get inspired a lot when I'm out and about. Oh, just one thing before I start. I just wanted to say, I have changed the way that I'm doing lead magnets and freebies and things like that for private practice. And I just want to give a shout out to somebody who has followed along, and she went and created her own freebie. And the reason that I want to give her a shout out for this was because she spent so long doing it. And I don't mean so long in a bad way. I mean so long in that she was so committed. It reminded me of myself. I got the feeling that when she was doing this, she was kind of thinking, I'm not going to let this take me down or something like that. She was not going to be defeated by this freebie process anyway. She was so good. She showed up for herself almost daily and asked for help almost daily. And even when it was hard for her to hear, because every time she'd get me to look at it, she was feeling more confident that it was going to be like, not where I wanted it personally, but where I knew she could get it. I can see in people, I can see in the women that I work with, I can see, okay, this person here, there's more in the tank that's just untapped. I'm going to push. And I do, because I don't want her to just think it's good enough. If I can see this has potential over here, she's got potential over here, yeah, it would probably be fine for most other people what she's putting out. And I'm sure friends and family and neighbors and everybody's looking at what she's got, and they're probably like, holy cow, how did you even do that? And she's getting all of that feedback. But I'm seeing the rest of the untapped stuff, right? And I'm like, yeah, okay, they're telling you that it's great, amazing, awesome, you're supported, great. I'm telling you there's still work to do, because we want to get this right. And here's why we want to get it right. And da 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 da. And do you know what? Even with me, I guess, being behind her saying, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, she let me. And she was bloody coachable, I have to say. Probably one of my most coachable clients. And for that reason, I know she's going to be doing amazing things with her business so quickly. She's a doer. She implements, she takes the constructive criticism that is hard to hear, especially because you're making it yourself. You're putting your blood, sweat, and tears into it. You're putting your heart and soul into it. You're getting told by everyone around you how awesome it is. And then your business coach is going, okay, they're telling you it's a 10 out of 10. I reckon it's sitting at about a 5. Here's what we want to do to get it shifting to a 10. It's hard. You go on a seesaw of like high emotion, then not so high emotion. It's this seesawing, and she went through all of that. And do you know what? She's out the other side, and holy smoke, you should see what she's put together. It is so good. And I am so, so, so proud of her. And it's already converting. And she only finalized it yesterday. I mean, this is what I'm saying. Like, I think some people just kind of think, oh, yeah, you get a business coach and it's going to be cruisy, and like they're just going to like, tell you what to do and fix everything. That's not coaching, right? If you need somebody to do that, go and go to VA. Business coaching is strategy, but it's also about supporting somebody to access the part of them that really genuinely wants to make this successful, and who is showing up and who is asking for the support and the guidance. And when I think about my most successful clients, I can see a through line, and I can definitely see patterns emerging in momentum of the women that just do exceptionally well. Like with anything, right? There's the bell-shaped curve. I always talk about the bell-shaped curve. Most of the women in momentum do absolutely amazing, right? bell-shaped curve. If you're new to the show, bell-shaped curve, it just, imagine a picture of a hill, right? Just a line drawing of a hill, like a great big hump. And either side of the hump, there's like the tail sort of running off. And imagine underneath that tail, there's just a straight line. But that straight line never touches the left or the right of the tails coming off the hill, right? That's called normal distribution curve, right? Bell-shaped curve. And it's something that you learn when you study psychology or statistics. And it's important because it is used to interpret data and information objectively. And the reason that I like it and that I use it a lot is because I really think it's a very simple, easy visual to understand and metaphor to get. I mean, it is quite technical, like when you go into it, but basically, for what we're talking about today, just imagine that hill, most of the hill, right? The big hump and most of the bits going off the side, that's average, okay, for the most part. But those little tails going off to the left and the right, okay, on the extreme left and the right, I forget what the number is exactly. I think it's 5% or 15% or 12%, doesn't matter. But anyway, it's 5%. That tells you that 5% is like on the wrong side of things, but also equally so, 5% are absolutely on the right side of things. So most of the time, most people, for, let's say, engagement on a post, let's say you put up a social media post, right? So many people look at it. You might not know how many people saw it if you're not looking at your insights. Let's imagine you did look at your insights. You had 100 people look at it. This is going to say, like, most people saw it and they were like, yep, okay, that was a post. But roughly 5% or less will actually take an action, like comment, leave an emoji, give you a heart or a thumb, share it, something like that. And also, those people are most likely to be like fans, right? That they really like what you're putting out. And so it's probably going to be, often you'll see patterns, it's the same names popping up liking your stuff, right? 5% over there. At the same time, there's going to be 5% that can't stand what you're putting out. And they're going to be like, oh gosh, here goes Brooklyn again, yabbering on, losing her train of thought, all of the things. And they're just going to like hate what I'm putting out. And they're going to be like, I do it so differently. She doesn't know what she's talking about. She used to be a psychologist. Why isn't she a psychologist anymore? Like, there's going to be all of that. That's just life. That is just statistics, my friend. And the sooner you accept it, the easier your marketing is going to become. So, yeah. And we saw that, right, with all of this stuff that was going on with the national standards a little while ago. We saw a lot of people reading this stuff and keeping mum. Do you want to say anything? Then we had a bunch of people over there that were very vocal about, we got to do this, we got to do that, or diploma counselors shouldn't be in it, diploma counselors should be in it. And then we had all the people on the other side, right? All of the things. So bell-shaped curve is a great way to kind of understand your data and things like that. But in terms of, what was I going to say? In terms of getting results with anything, could be Panadol. Oh gosh, now I'm going to get cancelled because I said a trade name, aren't I? What do I want to say? Medicine, right? Forget that I said a brand name, but let's say it's medicine for a headache, or it could be, I don't know how many people like hamburgers from McDonald's. It doesn't matter. You interview all these people, there's always going to be ones off to the left and the right. And it's the same in your counselling, it's the same in your courses that you deliver through your private practice. It's the same with your group therapy. It's the same with your EAP programs. It's the same with your workshops, your webinars, like all of the things that you're doing. this applies. And so for me over here, it's business coaching, and we're talking about what I offer, which is practice momentum. So yes, 90% of the women make progress, amazing. But I've got a little group over to the right that are just like off the charts. So getting just these amazing results. I mean, doubling income, tripling income, starting private practices from scratch and getting told by their accountant that they're on track to generate $180,000 in this year, right? And then I've got people over on the other side who aren't doing as well as the average, right? And it's for all kinds of reasons. Personal life, there's like family problems, things like that, and they get in the way. So, but there's also other things as well, right? Like, I guess maybe I'm just trying to think like with implementation. This is a big one, right? With implementation, the ones that I guess don't get the same results are the ones who maybe don't implement, or they don't rock up to the business coaching calls or the masterminds, or watch the replays, or get their work checked, or do you know what I mean? Like there's a lot less engagement. So they get a different result to the people who are engaging and doing the things and da 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 da. But it doesn't matter, like it's across the board, this bell-shaped curve. So even like I don't know if so Mel Robbins came up recently in another podcast episode that I was doing, and then people start talking about Mel Robbins, right? So let's imagine she has a community or a group, or Marie Folio, or Joe Rogan podcast, whatever. Like imagine they had a group, it would be the same for them. They're going to have some people that just get exceptional results, others that are in like the average, and they might be like in the middle or like high average, or they could be like middle average, or they could be low average. And then there's going to be people that are like, struggling or not getting the results. This is statistics, and it's good for you to know it, because you can take a lot of comfort when you understand how statistics work. Because also you might be having fears and concerns around, I don't know, maybe your marketing and putting yourself out there and being visible and things like that, because maybe there's imposter syndrome, or you don't feel good enough or ready enough, or you're too new, or, you only have a batch and not a master's, or whatever it is that's going on for all of us, right? The stories that we tell ourselves, and you're going to be afraid. Well, the thing is that 95% of the people are either going to just be totally cool with whatever you put out, right? They're not going to be offended. They're not going to hate on you. And on top of that, within that 5% are going to be like cheering you on every step of the way, whether you know it or not. Okay. Anywho, that's very important. So yeah, I can see that this person who's done this freebie is, I know if she can keep the momentum, excuse the pun, going, she's going to be like one of the major success stories for practice momentum. I know it. And by hook or by crook, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure she has everything that she needs. And I will get behind her, and I will say to her, keep going. There's more. You can do it. Come on. And I'm going to give her everything she needs, just like I would for all of the others, right? It's just so, as a business coach, like to see somebody transform like that, to go through all of the stages, and it really is highs and lows, because I, in inverted commas, warn everybody about working with me. Like, I've got exceptionally high standards, and it's because I want them to get a good return on their investment. And for them, that good return on investment is going to be clients and money in the bank, yes. But for me as their coach, the return on investment is I want them to increase their confidence through increasing their competence, because you know that whole matrix about unconscious incompetence, conscious incompetence, and then there's conscious competence and unconscious competence. I want to shift everybody through to conscious competencies, because as the coach, I want to make sure that I'm doing more than saying, I want you to be empowered. For me, I feel like knowledge is the empowerment here. And it's not only knowledge about what to do, it's knowledge that she can use to do it on repeat, so that once she's learned it, she will be able to be fully self-resourced to go and do it again. So like with this client that I'm speaking about now, she now knows how to go and do the freebie, right, in this special way. And yes, it was hard, massive learning curve. She knew nothing about it. It was, it was complicated because it was a big learning curve. And I think too, because we don't expect that the learning curve is going to be so big. But the thing is, she's got it under her belt now. And my advice to her would be, while it's fresh in your mind, go and do it again, because it's going to be the repetition that develops the proficiency and the efficiency. But now that it's done for her, this first one, she has now installed a system in her business that is going to consistently bring in clients for her, that is now fully automated, fully hands off, and it's going to work for her in the background. All she's got to do is let people know that it's there. That's her only job now. So yeah, I mean, there's more to getting clients than this, but your business, without good lead generation, your business is not going to get off the ground. You will be struggling forever. And it's often overlooked. We just think that the lead generation is posting on Instagram and stuff. It's not. So yeah, she's got this fully automated system in place now, and she's brand new to private practice. She's gone and installed it. And she's already converting 24 hours after she finished the last update. Can you imagine where her business could be potentially in a few months? I mean, business happens in 90-day cycles, right? If she just left that alone for 90 days, tracks everything, and then like we do a little bit of a review, make some changes if they're needed. But I would imagine in 90 days, she's probably pretty close to fully booked at how well, based on how well she's doing right now. So yeah, huge. But actually, none of that is what I had planned to talk with you about today. And I'm just thinking, should I save this or should I speak to it? But I will speak to it because I'm here, and I don't know. You can always pause it, right? And just come back later. Okay, so here's the thing that I want to talk about today. Stop saying you're affordable, because this word is actually keeping you broke in your practice. Now, it doesn't matter if you're already perhaps in an established business and you are making money. It's if you're in that position, great. But if you're struggling to pay yourself, or you're barely breaking even and all those kinds of things, or you still feel a little bit anxious or nervous about taking leave or being sick, and you feel like you've still got to show up for work even when you don't really feel like it because you can't afford to take time off, and you're using words like, I want to be affordable to everybody, and that's on your website and that's on your social media, and you're offering discounts here, there, and everywhere, and it's all about being affordable for everybody. It's keeping you broke. The reason that it's happening is because you're in a state of operating the business from the identity of being a therapist, right? You're like, I'm here for my clients. I love my clients. My clients and I have deep, powerful, impactful, meaningful relationships. And so it's very important to me to nurture those and build them out and have the trust and everything. Right? So there's that. And that's keeping you broke because you're saying you want to be affordable. But it's also happening because when we're trying to run a business from a therapist perspective, it can look like we're saying, you know, I help people who can't afford to get help elsewhere. Or we're saying being accessible means that I'm an ethical practice, right? It's very important for me to be financially accessible because then I'm being ethical. I've heard that so many times. And the flip of that is, well, if I charge more, and more might just be the average session fee, which is 160 for a vocationally qualified counsellor. If we're saying, well, if I charge more, if I charge the 160, Brooklyn, then I'm excluding people who really need help, and then I'm a bad person, I'm a bad therapist, right? And I'll never get clients. So we're operating here from like a meaning of, if I am promoting my business and my services as being affordable, that's showing everyone how much I care and that I can be trusted and that they should work with me because I'm a very caring person. I'm a very caring counselor, psychologist, or social worker. If this is happening and we're using the word affordable, it's like using that word is proving that you're not greedy. It's proving that you're not selfish. It's proving that you're not only in it for the money. And it's proving that you're not a bad person. And the thing is that all of those things actually have nothing at all to do with your client. This is all your personal stuff. But what's happening is, as a woman who's a therapist with a business over here, you're now projecting all of your own money stories, beliefs, worthiness stories, things like that onto the business and by extension onto clients. Okay. I think it's very important, if you're experiencing that, to really think about how this could be affecting you in your business, right? Yeah, so that's kind of like why it's happening. And when you're doing it, when you're saying on the website or on your booking link or wherever you're sharing it, you might be putting it out there because of your own stuff, right? Which you are, otherwise you probably wouldn't be doing it. Especially like, why on earth are you trying to be affordable when the business isn't even profitable yet? It doesn't make sense. You can't give what you don't have. This is what causes burnout. But anyway, that's a whole other podcast episode. But anyway, so you're thinking that you're conveying to clients that you're trustworthy and kind and caring and all of the things. But actually what the clients are perceiving is that if you're affordable, you mustn't be as good as everybody else. And you've heard about me speak about this before. It's a approach in marketing. It's also in biopsychology, consumer psychology, and it's referred to as perceived value. And there's so much research on this. You can go and check for yourself. But basically, if things are a higher price, we tend to, rightly or wrongly, assume or attribute quality, right? Oh, they must be really good because it's this price. Now, I heard that myself. I was working in private practice and I was bulk billing because I wanted to be affordable. So I didn't charge my clients a cent out of pocket. And I just received the Medicare payment, which at the time was, I think, $74 or $78 it went to then. I had 20 years experience. I am one of Australia's leading experts in cognitive behaviour therapy. It's part of what my PhD was all about. had a PhD. And yet there were other psychologists who had maybe a bachelor's and then had done the 2 years training, or they'd done a bachelor's and a grad and then they'd done 2 years like supervised practice, whatever. But they didn't have 20 years experience. They didn't have a PhD. They weren't leading experts in anything, and they were charging more than me. And I had clients work with me and say to me in session, my son goes and sees Mrs. Kafup down the road, and she's really good because she charges $200 an hour. She's like really good. I thought, okay. And I heard that a lot. And probably if you've built in private practice as well as a social worker or a psychologist, maybe you've heard this. So yeah, and also I think I shared with you previously as well, and a couple of times I have actually. There was more recent research that was done demonstrating this. So you know how stuff becomes trending on TikTok and everything every now and again. Well, anyway, this research was revived, and people did an experiment, and they just got like a cheap handbag, and they rented a shop front, and they made it look, very classy. And they put these handbags on display in window, looked really, really special. They put the velvet rope out the front, and they charged, thousands of dollars for the handbag. Now, I can't remember exactly what it was. It was 3,000 or 5,000 for the handbag. And people were lining up to buy it. People called the store to see if they could go on a wait list for it, things like that. And they went and they bought this handbag, and, they were very, very pleased with themselves at being able to get it. But the handbag actually came off, it wasn't Temu, but it was something like that, Kmart or something like that. Like, it was a low-end bag. And then there were other people who just paid the $5 for the low-end bag. And so what happened was, because it proved the point that you can have whatever product. It might not necessarily be a better product, but people will assume it's better or more desirable or does the job better or whatever it is because of the price ticket. So this is what's happening when you're saying that you're affordable, and when you're offering discounts, 30% over a Christmas break, for example, and things like that. You think this is how I'm going to get clients, this is how I'm going to fill my diary, and I'm going to try and make it palatable by saying to people, this is because I want to make sure everybody's got a shot. But actually, maybe what's actually going on beneath the surface is we've got a bit of fear mindset and scarcity mindset and holy smoke, how am I going to fill my books? But anyway, that price, that fee of $80 or $100 or $120 or $130 is getting perceived as you not knowing what you're doing. And guess what happens next? For people who have the lower fee, thinking that this is a strategy to fill the books, if they're still having trouble, they lower it some more because they figure, it must still be too high. And this is a problem because the more they lower it, the less somebody wants it. Okay? They're not going to look after it. They're not going to treat it as nicely. They're not going to, I'm just using an analogy here of the handbag again. Like, you don't, right? You don't value it. And we see this as well in the data. We can see that practitioners that have a lower fee have higher cancellation rates. They have higher non-completion rates, all those kinds of things, right? Lower outcomes, everything, versus the practitioners that are charging like the right rate for them, not being affordable, better engagement, better attendance, better outcomes, right? More stability. You're wanting to have consistency with the income and the bookings and things like that. But this is one of the ways that's blocking you from having that. Clients assume that cheap things mean that you're less experienced, you're less qualified, you don't know what you're doing, and you're less effective. You position your business as the budget option, which means you're going to get budget clients, the clients who are shopping around for the cheapest social worker, psychologist, counselor. And did you get into this with the dream and the vision and the mission of being the budget counselor? I'm going to say probably no, but I know there's always going to be a polarity responder that's going to email me and say, well, this was on my heart to do. So that's fine. My 5%, right? There's always going to be the 5%. So yeah. The other thing too is, so clients assume that what you're offering, it has low value, but they also can pick up on desperation. When we're really hammering home discounting sessions, for example, like if you do a social media post and the social media post is like pretty much devoid of a caption and it's a graphic perhaps, and it's maybe brightly colored or something like that to capture attention, and it says something along the lines of 50% off, 40% off, 30% off. I saw one that was like free first 3 sessions once, right? It reeks of desperation. Your clients read that as this person needs clients badly, and it creates a relationship imbalance, I think. I know it's probably controversial to say, but you know me, I don't mind being controversial. I think it's good that we talk about things. But I think that it can, because I think it, ideally, of course, we don't want to have a power balance, but we know that there is, clients are coming to you because of, they see you as knowledgeable and you've got the expertise because you've got the training. And I know we have to do our best to try and be an equal playing field, but the reality is they do see you as being like there and themselves as being there. But this can kind of flip things around a little bit, and clients can maybe feel like they've got a little bit more say in what's going on with you and your business, how they pay, the cancellations, things like that. And I've seen that as well with some of the clients that I work with. Like there was a social worker and she was charging $60 a session to fill her books, and she was really struggling to get that. And then when she did get clients, they were inconsistent. And then I said to her, well, are we charging a cancellation fee? And she was like, oh, I tried. And yeah, she tried and she got a lot of pushback and people threatening not to come back. And it was like her worst fears were actually coming true. But it wasn't because of the process or the system. It was because of what was going on for her around how she got these clients in the first place to work with her, right? It was fully on her. She put herself out there as being, well, affordable, cheap. And she got people who wanted affordable and cheap therapy. It also can create energetically and in terms of your capacity to show up for the business and for your clients, almost the energy of apology. And this is really, 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 really common. I fell victim to this, and now I help my clients who also feel victim to it to get out of it. But it's like you want to say, I'm so sorry that I even have to charge you this $80. I really wish that I didn't have to. Oh, if I could do it for no money, I would. You kind of get into that. And it's one thing to kind of feel it and think it, right? But I have heard clients say this. And in fact, I said it. I said it when I went from bulk billing to charging $15, right? 15, charging $15. And a lot of my bulk billing clients, as you will remember, got very mad at me, called me greedy, said I was like grabbing up money, this kind of stuff, right? And so what happened? I stopped charging the money for a while. it got really complicated. It got really messy. Everything kind of got tangled up. And it was nothing to do really with the client or the business. It was all me and what was going on for me. And then I reintroduced the fee of the $15, but I was doing it with apologies because people were complaining. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry, I wish I didn't have to, but I do have to, and all of this. Messy, 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 messy. So if that's happening for you, I've been there. I think many of us have probably been there. I don't have data on that, but I'm sure many people could relate to feeling uncomfortable about charging, especially when you're new to it. It's very different to working for somebody and the money just lands in your bank account once a week. You don't have to do all of this, right? But suddenly when you're in solo private practice especially, and you don't have admin, and it is you wearing all of the hats, you're doing the admin and the phone and the appointment scheduling and the invoicing, right? And taking payment. It's a lot. And the client picks up on your guilt or your discomfort around money, and that can go either way, right? And neither is good. The last thing that we want is your client to feel sympathy for you or to feel badly for you. That's not good for them, okay? The other thing too is that when we're trying to be affordable, it can also indicate that we're bringing employee mindset into it. And again, you've heard me talk about this. It's these things that have been integrated into this very first business coaching framework for counselors, psychologists, and social workers in private practice. It's drawing upon all of these things that, you hear me talk about all the time, and employee mindset is absolutely one of them. And if you're in that, then affordable is like hoping you'll get picked. That's your energy. Pick me, pick me, pick me. You're not a business owner deciding if the client is right for you to work with or if you can support them with their issue or their challenge. Instead, you're desperate and you're taking on any client because you want to be picked. You want to be picked. You want to be the team leader. You want to be picked. But the thing is, maybe sometimes the team leader just means a little bit more responsibility and not actually any more status or pay, And also, when we're in the employee mindset, what can happen is as women in business, we end up giving away our decision-making power. Now, I know I've just said the word power, and some of you are probably cringing just at me even using that word. But what I mean is it takes away from your capacity to make fully informed decisions that fuel the business so that you can work with your clients and also so that you can sustain yourself not only financially, but as a woman in the world who does need to eat, sleep, get clothes, get a haircut, all of those kinds of things, right? We don't want to be giving away your capacity to make fully informed decisions about your business. What it looks like in real life, this section here, is when we're operating from gut, we're operating from how things feel. Now, I'm very big on the masculine and the feminine energy, and I don't think there's a woman inside Practice Momentum who I haven't said to her at some point or another, great, amazing decision, fantastic progress, how's this feeling for you, right? How did you feel today? How did you feel when this happened? Because in business, I think we have a perception that it's got to be all hard, cold, mechanical, robotic, formulaic, masculine type stuff, all the business structures. It certainly, those things are required to some degree, but not at the exclusion of the feminine. So it's very important to acknowledge that in order to run a business, we need balance of both of those energies. The feminine energy is the energy that can move seamlessly between tasks, is the energy of creativity. We need that energy to help us solve the business problems. We need that energy to help us form the connections through the website, through the social media, through the LinkedIn, through the emails. That's all going to be coming from that feminine energy. So we need to have both. But there's no space for the feminine, or for that really beautiful, healthy masculine energy when we're giving away our capacity to make decisions because we're afraid, we're in fear, we have imposter syndrome, we're in the wounded energy, right? Problem. You will struggle with your business. Very important. Here's what your clients actually want from you. They want to work with a private practice where the business knows its value, whether you're in solo or group private practice, apply this accordingly, but where you know your value, number one, where you can hold your boundaries. Holding boundaries means you get them to sign your, your onboarding, your consent, or the paperwork, right? And in there, maybe you've got stuff about your fees and your cancellations and late fees and this, that, and the other. Now, you might not be 100% comfortable with that. And so you might say to somebody when they cancel, oh, that's fine, I'll waive it this time. And then they cancel again because they weren't expecting it to get waived and they had a good experience of it getting waived. So now they're not really so worried about cancelling again, perhaps. They cancel again. And now because you didn't charge the first time, you feel even more uncomfortable than you would have before. And now saying, I do need to charge you now. And here's where the apology comes in. I'm so sorry. I wish I didn't have to. Here's where they pick up on that energy. They pick up on your discomfort and they'll be like, oh, I really can't afford it right now. Oh, And then here comes you back into the conversation saying, oh, okay, well, I guess we could waive it again then, right? Do you see how it snowballs? And it comes from identity. So your clients want you to hold the boundary. They're expecting that you're going to hold a boundary. Even in practice momentum, boundaries must be held. Boundaries must be held. It's up to me. It's my business. It's my program. It's up to me what boundaries I put in place and how I work with them or I don't. But there are certainly non-negotiable boundaries. My negotiable boundaries are really energy-based for me, to give you an example. So, the women have unlimited access to me and I will be available for them, in the morning and the afternoon. And my office hours are pretty clear. It's weekdays, right? At the same time, if I have the energy and somebody has reached out and I can help them, then 9.9 times out of 10 I do. And I do that because it's my choice. I want to, the energy is there. An example of a boundary that is not negotiable for me is invoicing, for example. Not negotiable. There are processes that are in place to support people who might be, having a hiccup here or there. Absolutely there are. But at the same time, very clear boundaries. Now, if I didn't have those boundaries in place, that's going to be a problem for me and my business and for my client. Over here, I'm modeling how to run a business. If I'm saying to them, you need boundaries in your business and, let's put them in place, and I'm supporting them and I'm encouraging them, implement your boundaries, how's it going to look if I waive mine consistently all the time, wishy-washy with them, have boundaries for some, not for others? What do you think that's going to do for my business? Right? So I must have very clear boundaries, just like you must. And just as you heard, I have, other boundaries around access to me and contact and things like that. I do have those other boundaries, but they're my choice to be flexible, right? And that's not giving a bad message or anything like that, because at the same time, I can also just stick to my boundaries. If I want to go and over deliver and help more than I said that I would, that's perfectly okay. The point is, your clients need you to demonstrate boundaries, okay? It models for them how they're going to do it in their business as well. Your clients are not going to resent you for charging the fee that you need to charge. I've done so many episodes on fees. You can go back and find them. It's a whole thing. But you need to charge the business that's right for you. And there's a way to calculate that. And it is not by asking your supervisor what she reckons you should be charging. It is not by Googling who else lives on the Mornington Peninsula and then just figuring out the average and going with that. No. Rookie mistake that's going to lead to all kinds of trouble for you financially, perhaps energetically in terms of your burnout. So no, we don't want to do that either. So yeah, they're not going to resent you for charging the fee you need to charge. And your clients want to work with you for the course of however long it's going to be. Now, everybody works differently. I understand that. Some of you have single session models. Some of you do programs and no one-to-ones. Others do one-to-ones and no programs. Like, you all do something differently. But a good private practice has repeat clients, just like a good any other business. They're going to have repeat clients. So we want your clients to continue to come back and see you, right? So they need you to be running your business sustainably enough to enable them to come and see you again, right? They need the business to be sustainable enough for you to be available to them over the long term. Because I think it's pretty fair to say many of us in private practice have heard more than one time from our clients how frustrating it is for them to have to start with a new person from square one and retell their story all over again. Yep. So that's what we want to understand. So your client wants to work with a practitioner and a private practice that know the value and speak to it, can hold the right boundaries, charges the appropriate fee because they want to be available and sustainable over the longer term. Now, there's costs to your business of undercharging that are financial, but there's also costs of undercharging for, as you just heard, sustainability, but also energetically, right? I mean, even if you were just, let's say you were seeing 20 clients and a week on average, and you were charging 120 instead of 180. Well, over a year, you've lost $62,000. You see what I'm saying? It's a lot of money. Over 3 years, you've lost $187,000. I know. And that's not even accounting for any of the fee increases that you won't do as well, because you're already trying so hard to be affordable. These are the practices that say to me, Brooklyn, I need a private practice business coach because I'm really busy. I need more money. And I say, oh, okay, what are the fees? But they're going to tell me $100 or 110 or something like that, or something lower than what it should be. And then they're going to say almost very proudly. So it's like there's pride in the humbleness of, I haven't raised my fee in 5 years. I think that is madness, absolute madness. It's like now you're paying your clients to see them. It doesn't make sense to me. Yeah. Have a think about what's going on when you're operating from that energy of wanting to be affordable, versus if you're just operating from that integrated space of, well, okay, I can charge my fee and run a business and still be ethical and kind and caring for my clients and be a good, ethical, caring, kind practitioner as well. You will get fewer inquiries when you start charging more, absolutely, but you're getting the right clients now. Also, you don't need to see as many clients. The volume of clients goes down. So when I was bulk billing at the medical clinic, I've told you this so many times, it would be like starting at 8 a.m., finishing at 9 p.m., Monday to Friday, the 50-minute appointments back to back to back to back to back. That's a lot, right? And then now, these days, I'm probably lucky to see a client a week. Very, very different space. I see 3 clients, or maybe, well, I don't know if it's 3 clients. I'm just trying to think back. Is it 3 clients, 3 sessions? I do a handful of sessions a month just to keep recency. But, I don't need to see anywhere near as many because I'm not doing it free anymore, right? So there is a shift. You might not be seeing as many, but you're making more money. You now have some time available again. You can start to use that time now to be intentional and focused on your business, which you didn't have 5 minutes to scratch yourself before, but now you can. And your revenue goes up, your profit goes up, all those kinds of things. There's you get fewer inquiries, there's higher conversions, loads more revenue, potentially, like depending on what the discrepancy is. But it's because the right clients who practice are going to be attracted to your value and not to the fee, not by the fee, right? And that's what we want. So there's a hidden capacity cost. When we're promoting the business as affordable, the business ends up attracting clients who are focused on price, not on the service, right? So they're not there because you're the best or because they really want to have EMDR. They're there because you were the cheapest. They're focused on the price. They have high cancellation rates. There's more scope creep for you around the way that you work. Like you might start to work with people who are outside your area of expertise or specialization. There's usually more boundary testing going on for both you and the client. And there can be a lot more emotional labor investment because you're not in a great place when you started this. So this looks like we're taking things personally. We're getting taken out. Like you are already undercharging. You're already scrounging for clients. The clients that you get don't value what you do. They're focused on the dollars. And then when they cancel or they push back on a payment or they tell you that they get paid tomorrow, but can they still see you today? And you let them, and then they ghost you and they ignore all your emailing, the invoices and everything. You've lost that money. You feel personally hurt. You feel personally rejected. You feel personally offended. It goes from you operating as a business owner or even operating as a therapist to now you're getting wounded by what's going on. So it then creates, like when I say emotional labor, I mean, it then gets harder for you to get back on the horse and do anything about it. And especially for subsequent situations where this could happen. You're filling up the capacity in your diary with clients who are typically hard to serve instead of clients who are the right ones for your business, who are on the same page as you, who really genuinely are there because they want an outcome, who value the way that you work and how you do it, and who've done their research and they're choosing you for your knowledge and expertise and your capacity to support them in having their own transformations, right? When you're running the business from that space of it needs to be affordable, there's also a business sustainability cost in that you might not be You might not be able to afford to do things like take time off, invest in the right supervision and training. So what this can look like is you go and work maybe with somebody who themselves isn't in a good place and they're charging like $45 for supervision. I've seen it. It means you can't afford to build savings in the business bank account, let alone your own. And it means that it's going to be really hard for the business to weather slow periods. Being affordable keeps the practice and you in burnout mode, and it can result in people just closing up shop and going, and working for somebody else because it all just feels too hard, right? Yeah. I would say instead of I'm affordable or my fees are this because I want to be affordable for everybody all of the time and things like that. Maybe before you go updating any of your copy or your marketing and things, do like a little bit of a reflective practice first around a reframe perhaps. So I don't know what you're making affordable mean, but if affordable for you means this is how I show people that I care, maybe a reframe around that might be, well, I can care for people over a longer term and I can care for a larger capacity of people when I'm charging the fee that my business needs me to be charging in order to be sustainable. You see? You might have a reframe if your belief is that, well, high fees mean, like if people see that I charge this much, they're going to think that I'm really greedy. What about if we reframed that and said something along the lines of, when clients see my fee, they know that that fee reflects the transformation and that's what they're buying. We want to be attracting clients who want to get the result. So in Practice Momentum, I only want to be working with clients who want to have a successful business. There were people that applied for Practice Momentum. So probably over the last few weeks, I don't have the number right in front of me now, but I think it was 21 people applied, psychologists, counselors, social workers, all at different stages. But one of the things that I noticed about some of the businesses that were either established but really struggling, or they were new, just getting ready to start, very excited about, beginning, commencing, very aware that they don't know much about the business side and have been listening to the podcast and know that they need to learn about the business side, all those kinds of things. But very wishy-washy around making decisions. Now, I can't work with someone who's going to be wishy-washy around making decisions, because if that's how they are in life, that's how they're going to be in their business. And it's going to be very, 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 very difficult for them, while they're not ready, to be able to get a result, because there's going to be a lot of questioning things. Why this? Why do I have to do that? I just want to see clients. Why are you making me, I don't know, make a freebie? There'll be lots of, pushing back, all of the things. And it's not because they don't trust me, and it's not because they don't think they need help. I mean, they do. They're saying, I need the help. But at the same time, they're not at a place yet where they're able to make decisions for themselves. And it's because lots of different reasons. Maybe they don't trust themselves. Maybe it's because there's fear of success. Maybe there's fear of failure. Maybe they're worried about the money. Will I make the money back? Like all of the things. And they're perfectly legitimate worries. We all have them. Like I recently got my business coach. I told you that. And, it's cost me a small fortune. And I had to deal with my own stuff that came up around that. Well, is it going to be worth it for me? Da, 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 da. But here's the thing. It's going to be worth it if you get your outcome. That's what's going to make it worth it. So when people are deciding whether or not they're going to work with you, they're buying the outcome. They're very rarely considering the fee unless you're deliberately and intentionally putting it out there that you're going to be affordable. Right? It's a thing. What we want to be able to do is get you to a point for your business where you can say, hey, I really do care about my clients, but I also do charge what my expertise and my knowledge and time are worth. I do both of those things, and I'm really at peace with both of those things. They feel really comfortable for me. They both loop into each other. It just works. That's where we want to get you, because when you're in that space, then you can work with more clients. You can help more people. You can have a bigger impact. You can get your time back. You can build your diary if you're in the growing phase. You can consolidate it. Or if you've already done that and you're like, okay, I think I want to expand a little bit, bring in a course or bring in a group or bring in your VIP days or your retreats, your online workshops and things like that, your passive income streams. It's all possible, right? There's also what I call structural capacity to state value, and it really is about building your own capacity to be able to let people know what your fee is without you apologizing for it. And not only that, without you feeling horrible. To get you to a point where you can state your fee and you can just sit there in silence afterwards, as opposed to, watching for a reaction, waiting for a reaction, and then diving in and quickly reducing a fee or taking it back or offering discounts or all of the things the things that sabotage you. They're self-sabotaging things that so many of us do or have done. And also creating this structural capacity around your state value means holding boundaries when or if a price objection comes. So to give you an example from that, practice momentum, it's an investment. It's over $10,000. It's an investment. Now, usually people who apply have been in my world for a little while. They've gone and read all the information about the program on the website. They've heard about it in the communities. Maybe they've read about the program in an email or heard about it on podcasts and things like that. So there's awareness there. They know how much it is. 9 times out of 10, no issue. But every now and again, of course, there's somebody that books in and they don't know the fee. And when they hear about the fee, there can be a price objection. I call it sticker shock. They're going to go, oh my gosh, it's so much money and da 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 da. And it's a very natural instinct. It just kicks in, and it's your ego's and brain's mind's way of protecting you, right? Because it doesn't feel safe, and you're freaking out on the inside. And because you're in that state now, freaking out on the inside, an inexperienced business coach, therapist, social worker, counselor, psychologist might be tempted to fill in that gap with something like, oh, I'll give you a massive discount, right? We don't want to do that. We want you just to be able to let people process, give them the pregnant pause so they can process. It's very important you don't let your fear get in front of you or get ahead of you. When we give people that pregnant pause and you're not saying anything, even though you are fighting the instinct to fill the silence, perhaps, they're thinking about it and they're processing, and then they're going to start calming down a little bit. And it's when they calm down, they're going to ask a question, right? And maybe the question is going to be something like, I don't know, if they're worried about will they get a result, they might say, what kind of results do people get? Now, again, nearly all of the people that apply for my programs already know it all because they hear they hear me talk about it all the time. Like even today with that client's freebie. So they already know all of that. But somebody who's new to my world, they might have a question around that. And so it's like great. Like I am excited to be able to share some of the progress and the milestones, the markers experienced by some of my clients to give the potential client an opportunity to see what could be possible for her too, understanding that everybody's different and understanding that, life can happen. And even though we might come in strong, you just never know. And you could get taken out. At the same time, you might come in strong and you might absolutely nail it like some of my other Practice Momentum clients did. So it's very important to get to a place where you're okay with your boundaries and holding boundaries around price and understanding that it's not about you, right? It's about them thinking if they're worth it. They're not questioning you and whether you're worth it. They're thinking to themselves, I know I want to work with Sally. I did go with some of the cheaper ones and I didn't get the results that I wanted. And yeah, I know I need to do it. It is going to be a bit of a pinch financially. I didn't realize the fees had gone up since I spoke to Sally last. There's going to be a little bit of that. But there's also going to be, for them, they're just wanting that little bit of, is there hope? Is there hope for me, Brooklyn? Do you think that I can do it? Sally told me, is there hope for me? That's what they're wanting. And it's true. They're not doubting whether you're worth it. They already know that you're worth it. They're maybe wondering if they are worth it. And that's a very different energy for you to show up in when you can hold that space for them and support them in whatever it is they might be bringing to the conversation in that moment, right? Very different energy. A good business owner can handle her fees. A successful business owner handles her fees really professionally, really well, while respecting clients. A good business owner will turn clients away when she knows that she can't get them a result. And it's not because her approach to using EMDR or ACT or integrative holistic therapies is wrong or not good enough. It's because she knows maybe this client might not be ready for the way that she works yet. And she's very okay with releasing that person and maybe giving them referrals or recommendations or a resource or something that might be better able to meet that client where they're at. Understanding now that you've had a chance to meet and that at some point in the future, this client very well may be in a position to come back and work with you, right? Something may have shifted for them personally, mentally, psychologically, financially, like whatever the things, okay? So being able to hold that boundary, very important. When you can wear the hat of being the business owner that's really successful in your private practice in the way that you define it, but also being able to hold the boundary around the fee, everything just feels more safe for your client as well. There's less wishy-washy stuff like that. You don't want to do things like say, oh yes, I understand my fee might be expensive, but I do have, some discounts coming up. We don't do that, okay? Especially if you're not at profit. Yeah, I would say if this is making sense to you and you're thinking, I do say some of these things, I would encourage you to consider going and have a look at your website and removing any reference to words like affordable, accessible pricing, flexible fees, right? And anything that's apologizing for cost. Now, this happens a lot with counsellors especially, because for some reason counsellors think that they should be on Medicare and whatever, and they think that they're missing out on getting work because clients want a rebate, and that's not the case. There are plenty of women solo private practice owners who are highly profitable, fully booked, no Medicare rebates. But this is what I'm saying. This is why this identity stuff is so important. If this is a story that you're running, it just makes your work so much harder. So we don't want to be apologizing for not having a Medicare rebate. And that can look like saying things like, although counsellors are registered under national standards, unfortunately, Medicare don't love us enough to give you a rebate. And so, yeah, so sorry. It can look like, although we don't have Medicare rebates as counsellors, don't worry, because we only charge the same amount that you would pay as a gap if you were working with a psychologist or social worker, where you could get a. That's a load of BS. That's very misleading. Number one, you don't offer the same service, and so that's misleading there. But also, what was I just going to say? It's getting into that proving energy. And the third thing is it's just not true. It's not factual. You're making it up. Or you're using a story that you've heard other practitioners, other counselors specifically say, and it's not based in fact. There are lots of women who are accredited mental health social workers and psychologists that still do some bulk billing. Okay. And then there are some that were like me and only charge $15. I bet you're charging more than $15. So when you're saying on your website that you charge the same, if that client has seen me and paid $15, they're going to be expecting to pay you $15 because you're saying that's what you charge roughly, but you don't. Don't charge anywhere near $15. So don't be misleading on the website. Let's just get rid of affordable, accessible pricing, flexible fees, and apologising. You might want to do something around, just state the fee. Nothing else. $180 per session, $160 per session, whatever it's going to be. Just say it. We don't need anything else around it, okay? You might say the fee is $180, and together we're going to work on how to improve your productivity as a late diagnosed woman with ADHD who's got 3 under 10 and also has a part-time work from home bookkeeping job. This is why niching is so important. It allows you to speak to the ideal client, and you'll fill your books a lot more quickly with specific messaging like that. Messaging around, I'm going to help you through your life transitions for, all of the problems that you've got in the universe and all of this. You will never get a client. I mean, you will, that's not true. But your clients will find you based on you having a lower fee. And that's what we're trying to avoid here. But when we use our messaging, which is why messaging is so important. It's why when we're in Practice Momentum especially, we one of the very first things that we do is rehash the website. Getting rid of so much of the really badly written AI, and it's badly written because we don't have a voice now for this beautiful therapist who gave up her time, her money, studied late at night, did the group assignments, worked hard to pass her exams and everything, did it because of her life experiences and she wants to give back. Now we've got like this very bland generic copy on the website and she's struggling to get work. So in Practice Momentum, we do spend a lot of time refining, and it's hard work. I'm not going to lie. It doesn't have to be hard, but it can be hard if you're also dealing with stuff that's going on behind it around your visibility and things like that. But when we've got very clear messaging, it allows us to speak to very clear transformations. So even in my business, my messaging is that I use, I'm one of Australia's only qualified business coaches for private practice. I am the only one that's created a business coaching framework specifically for private practice for counsellors, psychologists, and social workers. I am the only one that's got a PhD. Right, I can use all of that in my messaging, but I can also say that I, like other ones, I do get my clients to learn for themselves what they need to do for their own business to get consistency. It's very important. Consistency, not only from bookings and inquiries, but consistency with the revenue as well. And beyond that, growth. We want to see the revenue increasing. And, for me anyway, the quicker I can support a woman to do that, the better. Where and most business coaches have the same goals for you, right? What is different is in how we do it. And if I didn't have practice momentum, if I didn't have my framework, if I didn't have my philosophies and things like that, I would just be saying very generic stuff on my website. Okay. So it's important. That's why we must make sure that we've got very, very clear messaging that's very specific. Instead of saying trauma, like I've had clients who wanted to stick with the niche of trauma and they didn't want to niche down. And then I've had clients who were also in the trauma niche, and when we explored, well, what sort of trauma don't you like to work with? What sort of trauma do you like to work with? We're able to then bring it down. And, it might have been something like, well, I really do like to work with road trauma, or I really do like to work with children and family violence trauma, or I really do like to work with, wives and financial trauma, right? From messy marriages and divorces. Those practices get booked up so much more quickly than the ones saying just trauma. Because saying trauma or saying anxiety, it's a category. It's not really a condition. It's a category of condition. It's like saying, fruit or vegetable. You can say, well, I sell fruit. You might have a shop that says I sell fruit, but then you might have another shop that's called mangoes only. Who's going to sell more mangoes? The shop called mangoes only. It's a no-brainer, but we get in our heads about it and we cut off our noses to spite our face. So yeah, you want to have really clear messaging, really clear positioning on your website, and niching makes you desirable, makes your business desirable, because you're now speaking to the solution to the problem. So if she's, late diagnosed ADHD, and she's now become increasingly aware of how she struggles with productivity and time blindness and things like that. Well, if you spoke to her and that became your thing and you become known for that, you can charge a higher fee because that's what you do, versus all the other counselors, psychologists and social workers that are just like, I support late diagnosed women with ADHD, right? Especially when you're just starting and you don't have a fully booked diary, the income and the bookings are patchy and inconsistent. It's usually because we've got very generic, watered down messaging. Okay, so yeah, maybe have a bit of a think for yourself too about, as I said, have a look on all of your marketing stuff. Get rid of that word affordable. Go and have a look at your explanation of fees on your services page and your fees page. Go and have a look at what you're saying about your fees, Medicare cancellations on the, that's another thing, like for your cancellations, you don't have to explain to anybody why you're charging one, but sometimes people do, and they might say, oh, well, it took the place of somebody else, and oh, well, I did have to still pay the rent on the room, and hope you can understand. And well, you don't need to, it's too much information. It's over explaining. Just like, the Queen used to say, what was it? Never complain, never explain. So it's the same. I say less is more. It's just not a great look if we're justifying everything, because then it also creates space for people to, not argue back, but I guess raise questions about things. And say, oh, well, then I'll only have online in future, or stuff like that. So, yeah. I think this is so important. Anytime you write the word affordable anywhere, could be an email, could be a caption on your socials, whatever, that's you making a business decision from your therapist hat. The therapist hat says be accessible, love everyone, don't charge much, help everyone. But the business owner hat says charge what the service is worth, charge what the transformation is worth, serve, help and support the right clients for you and your business, and build a sustainable private practice so you don't burn out. You need to wear both hats when you're working as a practitioner in a private practice, okay? And this is a lot of the work that we do inside Practice Momentum. So yeah, the applications for Momentum are closed at the moment, and that's because I'm capped at places. But as people start to complete their program, some may leave, some may stay in Practice Momentum, and others who've been able to integrate that identity and really start making embodied decisions from that place of being a business owner and a practitioner. And if they're in profit now, and they have been in profit and paying themselves consistently for the last 90 days, the last quarter, at least at 75% and things like that, then they will be invited to move into Ascend. And in Ascend, we do, things that support those women at the stage of the business that they're in now that they've got those things in place. So as places become available in the program, as my energy becomes available, I will be contacting the people on the waiting list and speaking with them first as a priority. The fee for Momentum at the moment is $12,000, and it goes up regularly. There's more information about it on the website. And if it's something that you'd like to apply for, go ahead, submit an application form, and you'll be one of the first ones to be notified when places become available next. Okay, my lovelies, have a beautiful, beautiful week. I'm off to Dalesford. I will talk to you when I talk to you. Okay, bye. And that's a wrap for this episode of the Private Practice Podcast. So as you reflect on today's insights, imagine creating real success in your private practice without going down rabbit holes or exhausting yourself with business activities that don't move the needle. With Practice Momentum, you have push of a button help available on demand. It's like having an expert in your pocket ready to guide you whenever you need it. Visit brooklynstorme.com to discover how Practice Momentum can transform your approach to building a thriving practice. I'm Dr. Brooklyn Storme, and I'll see you next time as we continue exploring the mind, business, and spirit of private practice success.